Logan, for your career as a writer, would you be okay with a workload filled with writing assignments for others' projects, polishes, rewrites, etc., and then maybe just do one or two more feature scripts for yourself, as long as it meant that you were a writer, that you would be okay with what the daily duties were, polishing, rewrites, coming in, adding a scene here and there for someone else?
I feel like if you're in anything, again, whatever the profession is, so in this case, like if I'm a writer, what I should love first and foremost is writing. And then obviously people diverge from that, right? And then they have a lot of very specific concerns depending on who you are as an individual. Um, but to me, the love of the action, to me personally, the love of the activity sort of transcends everything else. I think that sometimes the activity can be a more positive or negative experience, right? Depending on uh, all sorts of factors. Um, but to me, if there's the version that would make me like the most happiest, but if you're asking like if I got to wake up every day and I got paid to write, would that like make me happy? Like absolutely. Like I think again, my sort of like perspective is when you realize how difficult it is to sort of like to manifest that, not in the sort of like new age way, but to literally like create that scenario. um I think that it makes you kind of just really appreciative um that you get to have that experience. That's how it is for me anyway. Again, there are like, I think there's movies or stories that I'm better at, and there's certain like skill sets that again are more unique to me for whatever reason, that is like that I have a specialty in. Um, but regardless, just the idea of getting up and writing to me is a wonderful situation to find yourself in.
What types of stories are you best at, do you think? If someone came to hire you to do a rewrite, a polish?
It's a it is increasingly this sort of I probably probably I'm in the sort of like uh, James Gunn, like Taika Waititi, um, sort of like camp, where it's these sort of like big sort of genre, even like sort of like these genre adventure pieces, but with this sort of like undercurrent of comedy. Um, I've kind of accepted that that's what I do, and it makes me like happy to do it. I think there's always this idea where you're like, oh, I'd like to do a Christopher Nolan movie, but I'm not Christopher Nolan, you know? Like I when I'm doing a scene, it needs to end on a punchline, and if it doesn't end on a punchline, I get like neurotic about it. I'm like, no, there has to be what was the joke? And it's like, it doesn't always have to have a joke. But I think that to me, I'm really sort of glad that like I saw the new Suicide Squad like a couple weeks ago, and I loved it. And to me, that's so exciting because it's like, oh, okay, this is a subgenre, right? Because you have like these incredible people at the top of their game who are help shaping the conversation, and you can look at that and go like, oh, okay, like there is a place for this now. I think the whole like the idea of inclusivity and like diversity and all those issues also like feed into that same idea, which is like when you can see examples of the stories you want to tell or the skills that you think you have, there's an opening for that now, and you go like, oh, okay, people do like that. it wasn't like, this isn't just a me thing, right? And so I think that that's a cool thing, that as genre like keeps sort of like diversifying into all these sort of like there is a lot there's a much larger spectrum, I feel like, and that's exciting, because then you can look at that and you can say like, oh, okay, I think this is where my voice fits in, and then hopefully you can find a way to get there, because it's still very hard.
What if someone asked you to do a rewrite on an intense legal drama, feature film, or a horror film that there was no comedic elements to?
I think the thing that like previously, I would like to get to I'm not that person. I should not be, well, it depends on what it is, but an intense legal drama, no, that should not be me, right? And I think that sometimes you're in this weird position where if you're not as established as you'd like to be, you sort of like, you take on things that are not the best fit. The goal is to try to get to a place where you can turn it down, because it shouldn't be you. For whatever reason, it shouldn't be you, right? Because I think that doesn't do a service to anyone. Ultimately, any sort of like story or project or whatever everyone should want it to be the best version of itself that it could possibly be. And if it's not the right fit for you, then it should go to whoever it's the right fit for. I think it's a disservice to everything to try to like, in that situation, I guess.
Sure. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. That you feel that your best self, your best work would not be suited for certain projects, and just knowing that you're okay with that, and that you do your best work. You said sort of these adventure films with a comedic twist that are maybe lighter.
It was probably darker.
Darker. Okay, maybe there's some dark sarcasm interwoven. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah.
The one thing I would add to that is I do think that also, to me, it's sometimes less about genre and more about the type of story, right? Because I also feel like sometimes it's not. I feel like any good writer can figure out the conventions of a drama of a genre and do that like well. I think that it's harder to put yourself in the position of characters that you don't understand. And again, I do think that a good writer should have a lot of latitude in being able to imagine that, but I do think that there are just limits. And also with the other caveat being that not only are there limits, but it's not necessarily playing to your strengths, right? Where it's like, if you know that you understand this type of character, and I guess it hasn't really like come up for me, but if it was like a legal drama, but it was like, oh, it's a legal drama like starring this type of person, I'd go like, oh, okay, I do understand that better. And so maybe this makes sense to like take a shot at.
Sure. Like the TV show LA Law, that had humor to it, whether it was dark, sarcastic humor, but wasn't this intense, sort of depressing drama. It was lighter, and the characters had more humor to them. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I was gonna like, I have to take that like sort of perspective, because for instance on It Takes Three, like I really enjoyed it. There's all sorts of other stories I want to tell, and I've been fortunate that any opportunities that have come since, people are able to look at the characters and the tone and say, oh, could you take that and could you put it in this situation? With like, the genre could be entirely different. And that's a really great place to be, because I don't think I think most people don't want to sort of like only get stuck doing like one type of one type of story. Or maybe some people do. I can't say for everyone.